Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Simply Sketchy. I am Trim, and with me today I've brought with me my good friend Dave from the channel Total Blackout Painting. Hello, dude.
Hello. It's Wednesday, my dudes.
And with that, we have opened the floor of we're drawing a weird ass frog, kinda.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a frog?
He's a frog demon. So, we're gonna continue on with the Fablehaven series, and we wrapped up book one with Bahamut last time, and today we're doing a statue of a character or a demon called Oloch the Glutton, and he's a frog demon. On the and he's introduced into the story as a statue that is fed to become a demon. So anyhow, so that's what we're gonna do today.
So I've been given a short description of how he sits, as the book cover is essentially giving us a good idea of it, but I'm not going to do one for one of the book's cover.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to see what I can do on my own while Dave gives us a little bit of a chatty.
Yeah. So, after the end of the events of the first book, which that's where Kendra gets fairy struck, and everybody gets saved by the fairies, and they determine that Muriel had assistance from the Society of the Evening Star. And the Society of the Evening Star is they end up being the overarching bad guy through the whole story. They're working to free the demons from the demon prison. So after the end of the first book, that happened during summer vacation while the parents were on a cruise. So the parents finish their cruise. They got to come get the kids. The kids have to go to school. And the very few first days they're in school, a goblin shows up in Kendra's class. And not everybody just can recognize him as, they just see him as a normal dude. But Kendra sees him as a goblin. As for what he is.
She got the power of the fairies to actually see their true natures, right?
Yep. So she can see the true nature of fairy creatures. See past the glamour to the true nature of fairy creatures. So she sees that this guy, and he goes by the name of Case in the book. That's what he calls himself, I think, is Casey.
Casey the Goblin?
He's a very minor character, because really all it is he shows up in Kendra's class, and Kendra doesn't let on that she can see him for what he is, but she's not friendly with him. But of course he is trying to ingratiate himself to everybody. He's like a kind of a cute boy. And so the girls are all like, and they're about that age, because I think Kendra is 14 at this point, or 13 or 14. Anyhow, she's middle school, like 8th grade. They see this cute boy in the class, and so he shows up and he kind of starts charming the girls, but Kendra's very worried about it, because obviously he's a goblin. He's a supernatural creature. He's not a human. But he's pretending to be a human, and so she figures that this must be a plot from the Society of the Evening Star to try to get her.
So she's already starting to get paranoid, huh?
Yeah, but she can't prove it. Of course, that's a natural conclusion, though.
Of course.
That it's the Society of the Evening Star. So,
I mean, they just deal with a giant demon dragon with a haggard old witch, so I'd be paranoid too.
So they're kind of faced with a conundrum. like Kendra tells Seth about Casey, but like really, there's nothing they can do about it. And so one day, the kids are approached by a weird guy in a van, and he's kind of like yeah, I know, and he's kind of like a magician-looking dude, um, and he provides. He says, "I'm a friend of your grandparents. I'm an agent of the Knights of the Dawn, who are the agency tasked with fighting, or who are they're the counter to the Society of the Evening Star. So they're the good guys in the universe or in the world compared to the Society of the Evening Star."
Counterbalanced organization.
Yep. And so this man, whose name is Errol Fisk, presents himself as um, uh, a society of the as a member of the Knights of the Dawn and a friend of their grandparents, Stan and damn it, what was the grandma's name again? Ruth. Sorry. It's early in the morning,
That's all
so
right.
so he does card tricks and is kind of just a goofy character, and he tells Kendra, like, "Hey, I know there's a goblin in your school," and which is how she found out it was a goblin. She didn't know he was a goblin. She just saw him as this ugly creature. And so they uh, come up with a plan, and the plan is he tells them about the existence of blixes. So blixes are kind of like vampires in the Fablehaven universe,
Okay.
in that they feed on certain things. And so there's viviblixes that feed on life force, but they can also make servants, like undead servants. So so Errol tells the kids that there's a powerful viviblix named Archibald Magnum, that has in his possession an artifact that they can use to get rid of the goblin. So the artifact is some statue or something supposed to be sacred to the goblins, and they need to supposed to be sacred to the goblins, and once they give it to the goblin, he has to leave to try to take it back to the goblin homeland. But in order to get that, they have to break into this Viviblix's house. Who he lives in a mortuary, which would make sense. And they got to break in. He's a funeral home, so they got to break into there and steal this artifact.
So they're
And so
for a creature that is able to do necromancy, and they're gonna break into his house where you have corpses.
mm-hmm.
I don't see a problem with this at all.
Yeah, no, it seems totally reasonable.
Yeah, perfectly.
So
There's nothing bad ever gonna happen here.
In normal fashion, Seth is like, "I'm down. I'll do it," because Seth is down for anything, and it sounds like he's the avatar of bravery. He really is. Seth is pretty. He's an amazing character, but he's just like, "Okay, this needs to be done, and I'll do it."
Kid's got balls.
Which is one of the more. It's like one of the more admirable traits that I think that any person could have, but that especially comes out of a lot of characters in books. Is that, okay? Well, it's that heroism that's like, this shit needs to be done. Nobody else wants to do it. Fuck it, I will do it.
I mean, in other books of similar caliber, like Harry Potter, Harry isn't an idiot. He's got the stones to do what has to be done, even if there's a lot of risk to himself.
See, and I think of it in terms of Frodo from Lord of the Rings. You know, just like they couldn't figure out how to carry the burden, and he's like, you know what, I will do it. I will take this burden on.
And it's not just that.
which is
Also, you
really
also have Samwise too, because Samwise didn't really have to do shit, and he just got on through loyalty alone.
yeah, which was really Samwise ends up being the most heroic character in the book.
Oh yeah.
But it really is that hero's journey of like this needs to be done, and
Yep.
I think that's a really that's an underappreciated skill and an underappreciated sentiment
Yeah.
because too many people are just like, I don't want to do it. And so in my friend group, we have a rule, and that rule is if there's only one of something left, you take it without asking, and you don't feel bad about it.
Okay.
Because and we see it as an act of heroism because you're doing what people you're doing what somebody else really doesn't want to do, because people don't want to be the guy that took the last piece necessarily. You're like, oh well, what if somebody else wanted it? You feel bad if somebody else comes along later and it's like, oh yeah, I may have wanted that. But then also, when you say to the group, when you're like, hey, there's only one of these left, does anybody want it? We're like, well, now you've put pressure on the whole group to try to decide. So you've taken that one situation that's like, okay, well, if I just took the last piece, then that would be the end of it. I would have ameliorated this whole thing. And they've taken that anxiety and introduced it to the whole group by saying, hey, do you want the last one? And then everybody else has to decide, do I want the last piece? Do I want the last piece? If you just take the last piece, you save everybody else that fucking headache. So you're a hero. Taking the last piece of pizza, the last chicken wing, the last whatever, you're a hero for doing that by not burdening other people with the necessity with the guilt of like, oh, I took the last one, I feel kind of bad. No, fuck it. You took the last one. Like, own it. You did that for everybody else so that nobody else had to suffer through that angst and indecision of whether they wanted the last piece.
Just basically go around saying, hey, I'm taking the last piece. Stop me if you want
to. Yeah. See, now, and that's the thing. It's like, because now everybody has to decide. They're like, well, do I want the last piece? Do I want the last piece? Like, no. And then it becomes, well, I wanted the last piece. Well, then you should have went and got the fucking last piece. There was nothing stopping you from doing it, and that is your own fault if you wanted the last piece.
Oh, I do it more as a challenge, really. Like, oh, if you want it, stop me.
Too bad.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And even then, that's a heroic thing, because you're alleviating the pressure of everybody else having to think, oh, do I want the last piece? Do I want the last piece? Now you've removed that decision-making process from them. They don't have to worry about it. So the choice was never theirs to make, so you don't have to feel bad about it. It's like that Ouroboros meme we showed on the Sultans with the snake running over the people on the trolley, or with the trolley running over people on an infinite track. It's like, there is nothing wrong. There is no decision to be made. It just is how it is.
A bit of a bleak Ouroboros, I mean, but yeah, it kind of gets the freaking point across, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's super bleak, but yeah, it's the point.
By the way, question: would you want the eyes to be looking at the food, or do you want it to just be staring out into nothing?
They're just, they don't even. I wouldn't even put pupils in them.
Oh.
Because they're stone. Got
it.
So it's just blank stone eyes right now.
So the frog is on a trip. He's been licking himself, huh?
Yeah.
Bro, I can see some shit.
Yeah. So okay, so back on the story here, I just wanted to share that anecdote about the heroic thing, that the heroism of taking the last piece of pizza.
Yeah.
The underlying heroism of taking the last piece of pizza. So of course they can't do this right away, and they can't do it in the middle of the day. So they make plans. Errol says, okay, well, Archibald is going out of town on these days, so he won't be there. I have the code to his garage, so you can go in through the garage, and he's like, okay, and he tells Seth, you'll have to, he tells him you have to go in through the garage. You'll have to be very careful because there might be undead servants there. And he tells Seth all this, and Seth is still like, sure, okay, well, I'll do it. So they plan to do this later in the future. Not very far in the future, but they plan to do it.
Late enough to be noticeable, but not that late. Also,
Yeah.
this kid
Well,
apparently, does he need a trolley for the massive bronze balls he's carrying?
I know, dude. He's
Oh, undead minions? Sure, bro, I'll still do
yeah.
it.
So, but they knew, but one of the things that happened with the goblin was, of course, he's ingratiating himself to everybody, and he ends up going on a date with one of Kendra's friends, because they're in middle school. It's really innocent. She ends up giving him a kiss at the end of the date, and she's like, it was the worst. She's like, he had the worst breath I have ever smelled or tasted, or whatever. He had the worst breath I've ever had seen and smelled in my entire life, which tracks with the goblin thing.
Yeah.
And so then after that, he started to get a little bit of a reputation. I think they called him dog breath. And then as middle school things happen, he started getting teased, about it. So that was kind of towards the end, but before they got rid of him. So to the plan and to where we get to the subject, our current subject. So Seth sneaks out of his house at night, at like midnight, to go with Errol to Archibald Magnum's place to steal the statue to help get rid of the goblin, steal the effigy for the goblin. He gets in the place, and one of the things he has to do, they give him a dog biscuit, and he's like, oh, is there going to be a dog? And he's like, no, there's going to be a statue there, and the statue is, I think, the statue, you have to feed it in order to do something. I can't remember exactly what happened, but he had to feed the statue with the dog biscuit. And he walks in and he sees this like frog statue, and it has a sign on it that says "Do not feed." And so he goes to feed it. He takes the dog biscuit and puts it in the mouth of the frog, and it bites his finger. And then it closes its mouth, bites his finger. He goes and gets the little statue thing, gives it to Kendra. Kendra uses it to get rid of the goblin. She takes it, puts it on his desk at school. He takes it and leaves. And then that's that for that part. Well, so they come to find out later that it was all a big setup. That Errol was working together with the goblin to do this. The goblin worked for the society. They're all members of the Society of the Evening Star. And they send people. So they send now that the Sorensens now know that the society is keyed in on their kids, on Kendra and Seth.
The mom and dad, right?
The grandparents.
Okay.
The grandparents are keyed in know that the society has honed in on Kendra and Seth. And so they realize at this point that they, the kids aren't safe, and so they have to bring the kids back to the farm.
Right.
They send a woman named Vanessa Santoro it's like a black, so they send Vanessa to pick up the kids and bring them to the farm. She shows up in a black sports car. She's this like smoking hot, kind of exotic looking woman, who Seth kind of immediately develops a little crush on.
I mean, hot chicks, young
Yeah,
kid,
and
teenagers, right?
he's in that age group, and so she takes them to the farm, where they find out that Kendra and everybody is Kendra and Seth are targeted by the society, and they're not going to be safe off of the farm. They also find out. They tell Seth that the statue that bit him, this statue is actually a demon, and his name is Oloch the Glutton. And so, what Oloch does is he eats and eats and eats until he eats the person that fed him.
Oh.
Yeah, so he now is a problem that they have to deal with because
he's gonna eat
he bit Seth,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so of course he starts off like as a small little frog and just eats starts off as the frog like statue. And then eats and grows and eats and grows and eats and grows and eats and grows. Until eventually he's large enough to consume the person who who fed him, after which he eats that person, and then he reverts back into the little stone statue.
Oh, so he's less a character, but more like a weapon in a way?
Yeah. And so that's why I'm saying he's not like an antagonist or he's a plot device.
Right.
That's what he is.
Yeah.
And at some point he does, he gets strong enough to become a problem. But that's a little ways down the road. So they take the kids back to the farm where they meet 3 people, or 2 additional people, because they've already met Vanessa, and they meet a potion master named Tanu, who is a large Hawaiian or Polynesian guy, who's a potion master. He's like a second or third or fourth generation potion master. And then there's an older guy. Oh shit, Coulter, an older guy with them, who just kind of seems like an older kind of gentleman dude, and his name is Coulter Dixon.
Coulter Dixon, eh?
Yeah, and they find out that Archibald Magnum was not in fact a Viviblix. He was a member of the Knights of the Dawn, and the artifact that they stole for the goblin was kind of an important artifact, but nothing too crazy, I don't think. But then the real important thing was that this frog bit Seth. So that ends up being the really bad thing that comes out of them. So the potion master shows them, teaches them about potions. Tanu, not like how to make potions, but also teaches them about what potions can do. And one of the things that he showed them was he called them bottled up emotions, and they were potions that just make you feel an intense emotion. He gave Kendra a shame potion, and she felt really bad. Like, she felt like everybody was really, like, they just gave her the potion, and then all of a sudden she felt really bad, like everybody was judging her or whatever. And it only was like a brief flush of it, and the kids were like, wow, that was crazy. And so...
Sounds like something that could be useful in today's society, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, and there was one other guy they met. Crap, and I'm trying to remember his name. He is the trying to find the link to it. He is a fairy trader.
Trainer or trader?
Trader with a D.
Oh.
Yeah, and so he captures fairies and trades fairies. Oh no, sorry, God. Kendra thinks he's a goblin. I found it here. Kendra thought the guy was a goblin. Kendra thought the kid was a goblin in her class. Jumping back here. But it turns out it's a kobold. And so... So that's what it was. Anyhow.
What's a kobold in this universe?
So it's they're like goblins, but they're just ugly and gross. They're just a subspecies of goblins. The description is they have yellow slits for eyes, a puckered nose, and a face like a dried cantaloupe. Head was bald and scabrous, fringed with web-like hair. Sinuous arms were gangly, the hands were long and leathery and tipped with hooked claws. Ribs, collarbones, and pelvis jutted hideously. Spider networks of veins bulged against maroon flesh. So that's what Kendra saw, while everybody else saw regular kid.
Yeah. That'll be hard on a date when you see someone like that.
Oh wait, no, they don't meet the fairy trader until later. I apologize. So, okay, so back to Tanu and Coulter. So Vanessa, her thing, aside from being the hot woman, is that she's a creature tamer or a creature trapper and breeder. So she, in her room, and these people are all staying at the Sorensens' house. They're all staying with grandparents. And her room is full of all these weird little bug-like creatures, or lots of little bugs, and other animals, like exotic and dangerous, mystical creatures. And Coulter was a relic collector, so he collected and knew about like ancient artifacts and magical stuff, and he understood how to use magical items. Was his thing.
So he wasn't a sorcerer or magician, he just knew how to deal with it.
So then another person who's met, who they meet through the course of this, after the kids are safe and everything, they take the kids to meet the person who is the head of the Knights of the Dawn. And his name is the Sphinx. And the Sphinx is kind of like a he's a mysterious figure. Let me find the description here for him. He was originally a slave in Ethiopia, and the Sphinx is in possession of a unicorn horn that has been shaped into a cup that when you drink from it, it grants you immortal life. And they find out that this is one of the keys to the demon prison. It's one of the artifacts that's keys to the demon prison.
That would explain why an Ethiopian slave managed to live all this time.
Yeah, and so he, so it's called the Font of Immortality. And he, he was a slave and he got a hold of this, and then he's lived for thousands of years. Or, actually, it says he's been working with the society since the 12th century. So it's been a while that he's been working, or with the Knights. So he's the head of the Knights of the Dawn. He meets them, and he meets the kids individually, and he finds out, or he tells Kendra that she's not fairy struck, she's actually fairy kind, and he's the one who explains to Kendra the first time, and to everybody else for the first time, what is really going on with Kendra. It's not just It's not just, a casual, like, she didn't just, like, casually absorb a little bit of the fairies' power. She's actually been welcomed into the fairies. Like I said in the other ones, she's actually, like, seen as more a part of the fairy kingdom instead of just a human with fairy powers.
Decided to say one of us, one of us.
Yeah, exactly. And then he also tells Seth, Frank, what the hell? I can't remember what he told Seth. But anyhow, so he meets with Kendra, tells him about that. He meets with Seth and tells him about Oloch the Glutton, and tells him what's gonna happen, or what can happen with Oloch.
Right.
And so shortly after this, they spot Oloch outside of the preserve, outside of the fence, prowling along the perimeter of the reserve.
Yeah, because
he's magically drawn to Seth.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so he's magically drawn to Seth. But you can't be allowed on the preserve unless your name is written in the register. So they have a book that contains the contract for the preserve, but also has the guest register, and nobody can be on the preserve unless their name is written in the guest register. Like, they won't be allowed to either cross the gate, or they won't even realize that the preserve is a thing unless their name is on the guest register. Yeah.
So Oloch is just basically prowling the borders of the preserve, waiting.
Yep. Because he can't get in unless someone actually lets him in.
Yeah. Is he sentient by any capacity, or is he only an animal?
He's just gluttonous and ravenous. So no, he's not sentient. He's just eating. But eventually he will get powerful enough to breach the walls of the preserve on his own.
Okay, so he from the moment he's let's say activated, he's just gonna get more and more powerful until he can fulfill his purpose and then go back to sleep, essentially.
Yep, exactly. That's his whole purpose, is to do that. And so he's prowling around outside the preserve, and the Sphinx tells him, like, it'll be a long time, but eventually he'll be able to do it. And he does it by just eating rats and rabbits and stuff, but then also, like, rocks and dirt.
Yeah.
Like, he'll just eat anything, and so it doesn't really matter.
So suddenly you'll be able to see this guy just start scooping up dirt and just eat that.
Yeah. So, we'll go back to just the overview of the go back to the main part of the story. So after they meet the Sphinx, the people are referred to as specialists in their kind, and they are there to try to help Warren. Like we said in the first book, there's Warren and Dale. Dale's one of the caretakers, but he also has his brother Warren, who has been I'm trying to think. He's catatonic. He was struck by something that made him, like, unable to speak. It bleached his hair all white. And they found him one day just kind of wandering because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they were there to help Warren, and obviously they didn't. So there's so Olok's outside. The kids are trying to learn everything. They learn about the bottled emotion. Coulter shows them a glove, a magical glove, that while you're wearing it, as long as you hold still, you're invisible.
Okay.
Yeah. So, kind of just as a demonstration of what they can do. We'll talk a bit more about Tanu, because his contributions and everything become really relevant, and the potions really are a key point in the story. So his name is Tanu Gatoa Dufu. His first name is Tanu Gatoa, and his last name is Dufu. And he is a Samoan guy. He is a large, and he's like I said, a second, a generational potion master. Learned from his father. And let me try to see. I'm just reading on him some more real quick here.
Sorry. We got that.
So when they first meet the kids, he gives Seth a fear potion, which Seth is not used to. And so he was very, like when it happened, he got like really paranoid. He thought everybody was doing something, like everybody was was like secretly hated him and wanted something bad to happen to him.
So he became kind of schizophrenic for a while there, huh?
He did. He got schizophrenic for a second. That's kind of how it looked. And then Kendra, he gave her a shame potion, and she freaked out because she thought everybody was looking at a zit on her forehead. You know,
Yeah.
like when you're a teenager, it's a completely reasonable, like, oh my god, are they looking at the zit? Oh god, they're looking at the zit.
Yeah.
Kind of like it's a completely reasonable feeling.
So the potion basically latches onto something to you. It just doesn't invent something. It just latches onto a insecurity or something you yourself have.
Yeah, it is a it's emotion, you know. It just
Yep.
it just uninitiated emotion. So let me move into something a little weird here. So I have dealt with like depression and emotional bullshit my whole life. A lot of artists have, a lot of people have. But along with that emotional dysregulation that I understand that I like, one of the things that I always have to be cognizant of is that if a feeling I'm having is a rational feeling, because if a feeling is introduced to you, your brain will automatically search for a reason to justify that feeling.
Yes.
And that is that's a big reason why hormonal issues will cause problems, like will cause women, even dudes, will cause people to act erratically, and it's because their body is initiating an emotion through a wholly chemical reaction, through no underlying impetus at all. It just does it, and then from at that point, once your brain has that emotion or that emotional feeling, it then tries to figure out like, hey, why am I having this feeling?
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's very similar to like you step on a rock, or you step on a pebble or something, and then shortly after you're like, ow, and you lift your foot. Well, that's the reaction to that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Is that feeling of pain is to lift your foot. An emotional, like an angry emotional feeling, will then make you look for things. You're like, why the hell am I so mad? Oh, well, it's because that guy didn't do the goddamn dishes. Or it's because that guy didn't, you know, or he didn't take the trash out, or that guy cut me off. And, you know, it's like, really, why are you so upset about that? And it's because you're upset. Like something happened in your body, something happened in your brain that made you upset or have that feeling of upset. And then your mind searched for an excuse for it, a reason for it. That's why women will wake up mad at their husbands. Kind of shit, right? Like, it's an emotion. that it's an emotion and you're looking for a reason or an outlet for that emotion.
It's not just for husbands, also like friends who are
Oh,
women. I've sometimes had cases where one of my best friends, she just called me in the middle of the night. It's like, "How dare you? What have I done? You
yeah.
died in my dream." Okay, I'm not lying, by the way. This is
Yeah.
totally fucking real.
Oh, well, I mean, she misses you.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean it was
but
sweet,
yeah,
but
it's
I was a
not.
bit confused at four in the morning.
Yeah, that'd be a little weird. But it's not a male female thing necessarily. Um, and there's a lot of things that cause it, not just hormones, like
Oh.
vitamin deficiencies and stuff.
I mean, I've
And
I've had several times where I will admit that I've had a bit more unreasonable tendency of being angry. Suddenly,
yeah,
just fucking, you just feel like you want to break something, right?
yeah, and I think it's important to be stoic in the face of your emotions.
Yes.
Uh, and that is what, and I'm not always. I'm not even often. Um, but that's one of the reasons why it's important to be stoic in the face of your emotions, because
Yep.
something is simple, and I realize this. Like again, that's another thing. I've had to be hyper aware of how things make me feel. Like certain foods I eat will make me feel a certain way. If I have a Red Bull, like if I have a Red Bull and I have another Red Bull and I have another Red Bull for like 3 days in a row, then on that fourth day, I have to take B12 supplements, or else I'm emotionally I'm going to crash. Like my dopamine's going to crash. My energy levels will probably stay about the same. Um, but like emotionally, I'm going to dip,
Hmm?
and so it's important for me to be cognizant during that time period that, like when I'm going through an emotional dip, it's important to me that I don't take that out on my kids. It's important to me, and it's the same thing as like being hangry.
Yes.
That's really, and that's another part. I guess that's another good example of it, is being hangry. Emotional dysregulation because of external influences that you don't realize are causing that. We're like, man, why am I so mad? Well, because I'm tired, I'm hungry, and I gotta poop. you know, it's
I mean,
not
sometimes
necessarily
there are
that I
times where you
didn't.
should be allowed to feel it too, but
Mm,
it's best to just, you need to
yeah,
find a time and a place for letting those things go out. You can't
yeah.
just immediately be at the thrall of your own emotions or feelings, because you really need to
Oh,
rein that in and find a place to let it out.
oh, exactly. And that again, that's a part of being stoic, or being. I think it's part of being a man, is being stoic in the face of your emotions, in the sense that like you're analytical. You're not a slave to your emotions. Um, because emotions are easily manipulated. It's really easy for people to manipulate your emotions.
That has been proven
And
time and time again, especially these last few years.
yeah, absolutely. And so if you're a slave to your emotions, you're going to be easily manipulated. Um, and I think I mean, that's obviously a truism that goes back so far that even Marcus fucking Aurelius knew it.
Yep.
That it's always been the case. Do not be regulated by your emotions. Um, and so that is, and so that's where the bottled emotions come from. When the kids, that's like why the kids, when they get given the bottle emotions, it's like they go through this really intense mental process to justify um, why they're having those feelings. And I really appreciate that the writer put that in there, because it is far more accurate to how um, like emotional issues, and especially emotional dysregulation issues, come from.
Yeah.
Is that the emotion is it's hard to deal with. It's
And
strong.
nobody is born to handle their emotion. It's a process you learn. but you need
Absolutely.
to learn it. You need to
You do need to learn
physically
it.
take control of it yourself, because nobody is going to help you with your emotion but you. Even if you get
No,
professional help, they're only giving you the tools to achieve it. The
exactly,
control must come from
exactly.
you.
Yep. And you know, I mean, and I've gone to therapy and stuff too, and I've considered going to it recently because of recent events,
Yeah.
or tried going to it again because of recent events.
Yeah, and
And
it's a means to an end, and in many cases it can be really fucking
yeah,
helpful too.
it is. And you know what the thing is like, as much as everybody likes to think that you are, you know, your own special individual snowflake, and in a degree, to a sense, you are, but emotions are kind of universal.
Yeah.
You know,
There's
like the way people
actually
feel
yeah.
is pretty universal.
There's
So
this one thing I heard recently, which I'm really fond of. That it clicked with me, it clicked with me immensely, and it goes like this: You are unique, but you're not special.
yeah,
There's only
that's
one
a
Dave. There's
yeah,
only one Trim,
yep,
but you're not special
yep,
because there are many
that
like you.
that's a perfect way to put it. You're unique but not special. Yep.
Exactly. And
Um.
a lot of people believe that they are special as well as unique, but here's the thing:
Yeah.
you're not.
Yep.
There's always going
And
to be another one like Trim. Of course, there's only one Trim, but there's going to be several people who have the same kind of temperament. There's going to be several people who have the same kind of ideas.
right. Well, and that's the average, like the law of averages,
Yep.
or generally speaking, kind of sense thing. Um. But yeah, so going to a therapist, because like, especially the one I've been seeing her since I was in my late 20s, on and off when I have an issue. And really, you're exactly right. She just gives me the tools to look at things in a frame of mind. Um, and she's the one who really kind of taught me to look at things stoically too. In that, you know, your brain creates emotion, or your brain creates emotion and not necessarily the other way around.
Yeah.
Like,
To me, my
you're
father
not
is a
always.
good example of stoicism, but it's kind of a funny case with my father is that he's an incredibly stoic man, but it really depends on the situation because my father, well, let's say I have inherited his temperament,
Mm-hmm.
but he's able to have within an area. He never lets it go unless he is in a space where he is fully controlled. So if you have,
Right.
he never loses control of his emotions unless he's in an area where that is permitted. If he's in a place where you need to be in control or where you cannot just lose it, like it's seen as sort of a weakness to lose your shit in public. My father would
Yeah.
never do that, and through him,
Yeah.
I've learned to never do that myself. Right?
No, and that's well, that's an important part of growing up, is learning when the right time to do that.
Exactly.
Um, we
But
were out
if he was in the
camping.
farm or in the garage, right, and he's having a bother, he will swear like a sailor.
Yeah, yeah. No, my well, a few years ago we went camping, and I think it was like towards the end of April, or no, it was towards the end of. Yeah, it was towards the end of April, so it was still there was still a little snow in the mountains, and we were using my friend's truck. We were driving up. We were gonna go back to a lake to go fishing, but there was snow on the road, and we thought we could make it over the snow, but we got stuck, right? And so we're up in the fucking woods, um, up in the hills. Luckily there was a few people around, but like there wouldn't necessarily have to be. And so we've got a shovel and we're digging ourselves out of the snow. And my son is like my youngest son, and I think he's maybe 10 at this point. And he just kept saying, "Oh no, I think now's the time to panic." Just kind of being just melodramatic like a kid is.
Yeah.
You know, like, now's the time to panic. And it made me think, like, at that point, it made me think, like, yeah, this is the time that some people would just panic and melt down and not know what the fuck to do. you know. And I told him then, I was like, no, this is the opposite of a time to panic, because this is the time when you got to be rational and think to get yourself out of this situation, and you
Yep.
can't do that when you're panicking.
Yeah. Or if you
It's like,
suddenly just lose your temper completely and just get angry.
right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, and if we would have just, that's the thing, if we would have just lost our shit and got mad at, like, oh god, the snow shouldn't have been here, blah blah blah. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, that
Or
is what it is.
like
We just need to deal with it.
I had a moment like a year ago or something. Of course, there was a lot of pressures in one, so I did lose control over there. My
Yeah.
car disappeared in a pillar of smoke.
What?
Oh yeah, the
What?
diesel basically broke, right? So
Okay.
the engine just even what in regards what you try to do, the engine would not stop. The only way to do it is if I choked the engine, but in just everything mixed together, both in familial side, because there was an event my grandmother had passed, right? So I was
Uh-huh.
already and I was heading to the funeral. It was
Oh,
2 days away, right? And I was
yeah,
already pissed off from traffic. I was already irritable. Had slept bad.
yeah,
It was just a perfect storm.
yeah.
And then suddenly the gas goes to the max. I try to do everything
Oh
to stop
shit.
it, but I don't do the most obvious thing. Because I'm basically just starting to get pissed off, and I just lose my shit. So I get
Yeah,
out of my car as this pillar starts engulfing it. It doesn't catch fire, but the basically parts of the engine is burning out.
yeah,
So it's just smoke everywhere, and I'm standing there just in the middle of traffic. I turned my car as far to the side as I could so people could get past, but
yeah.
with all of this happening, and that is the part where I basically just forgot my dad's lesson, and I didn't panic, but I lost my fucking shit. I got
Yeah,
so angry, like, of course, all of this shit, and now this
yeah.
happens too. So I stand there and I just fucking shout at the car. I start kicking that thing, and then the rest of the car disappears in the smoke, and I
Oh.
just stand there, just cuss out that smoke like it personally insulted me, right? I had such a beef with that fucking pillar of smoke. How fucking dare you, motherfucker? And this old lady came, was like, sir, you need to back off. I was like, I know, just thank you. I'll follow you. I immediately got control again because she came there and that knocked me out of it.
Yeah,
So I wasn't really, I didn't go around like beating around and going crazy on people. But for like, I think it was like maybe half a minute, maximum 1 minute, I stood there yelling. It was just disappearing in a pile of smoke
brutal.
in the middle of the fucking highway, of course.
Oh, that sucks, dude.
Yeah. So
I can't say I've ever had
yeah.
that problem.
No, and that's
The car
basically
catch exploding.
yeah. So that's basically a case of me getting overwhelmed and unable to remember
yeah.
like the proper lessons. Of course, if I'd managed to keep my head calm, I would have, because I tried to choke the car, but you don't get to choke the car when you have it in fourth gear. You need to go all the way down to first gear. Of course, that'll wreck the engine even more,
Right,
but the
right.
risk
You
of the
blow
car
up the
either
transmission.
yeah, because there was whenever that thing happens, there's a chance that your car will actually catch fire, and in
Yeah.
some rare cases, explode.
If it was a gas engine,
It was a diesel
it
engine,
probably
luckily.
would. Yeah, I'd say if
Yeah.
it was a gas engine, it would probably explode
Yeah, so I
pretty
lucked
fucking
out.
quick.
I lucked out with the diesel, but this is a problem with diesel engines, though. Runaway diesel, I think it is. But again,
Huh.
the whole explosion thing is a really low chance. So
That's wild.
yeah, but again, so it wouldn't happen. But the chance of my car actually catching really catching fire, that would be there. And I was standing there just shouting at the smoke as if, what the fuck are you think you're doing? I got too much shit to do.
That's funny. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about diesels because I don't drive.
Yeah. So if
Like,
you're suddenly the
we got
RPM,
gasoline here.
yeah, if your car the RPM of your car suddenly just start going crazy regardless of what you do. Like it's like you floor it, like it's like you hit your clutch and then floor your gas, but you're not doing shit, right? If that starts
Yeah.
happening, put your gear into first and then let go of every pedal at the same time so you choke your car. Because that stuff is not stopping unless you force it to stop, and there's no way you can do anything because immediately it's gonna be incredibly hot and then a lot of smoke, so that's kind of dangerous too. But yeah, I that was an event for sure. I had to go get a new car, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. That makes sense.
that's an example when you again, my father taught me to be stoic, but sometimes even with all the teachings you can get, there are moments where it still will get the better of you, and that's one of mine, at least in recent memory.
Yeah. Well, and it is it's because emotions are powerful.
Yep.
You know, obviously, because the world's been run by emotions for the last few goddamn years, and they're
Yep.
still trying to tug on our emotions. Like the media uses the emotion to tug on your emotions every possible chance they get to try to manipulate people.
I mean, that's
Um,
one of the main reasons of doing propaganda. Get
yeah,
that emotional hook. That's how scams usually go. In a scam, if you manage to hook someone by the emotions, you got them.
yeah,
Because
but
even if reason is in many ways preferable to emotion, emotion will always trump reason because emotion are
yeah,
just so much stronger.
right. Well, and that's why, but that's why books are good too. Like that's where the best books drag you emotionally.
Yes.
You know, they drag you in.
Yeah.
Um,
Like you have Dresden Files.
oh
You
yeah,
know,
we haven't talked about the Dresden Files yet.
yeah, I had to do the reference. I mean, it was either Dimension of the Frog Demon, which is a good reference for the first book,
Yeah,
or I could just go with, again, emotions, as that is sort of one of the main fuel points of the magic in the magic system of
yeah,
Dresden Files. But you also
yeah,
have, shit, the control of it, how you need to use it, but within a controlled fashion, and
right.
how emotions control people very well. It's like when people do mind magic, it hooks you through your emotion in many cases.
Yep.
There are in some cases a event further on in the series, a creature able to affect you by inducing emotions of despair, right?
Yeah.
Which causes a shall we say uh what's the best way of saying it? A lot of sewer sliding begins happening
Oh
again.
yeah.
Oh yeah, just out of the weeks. And it just happens to a targeted group. So immediately, of course, the majors get kind of
yeah.
something doesn't make sense here. And then you also have how many people, when they see the supernatural, their immediate reaction is, "Yeah, this isn't real. Nope, this isn't real. Nope, 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 nope."
Yeah. Yep.
Immediate,
They,
like the terror of realizing that there is a thing going bump in the night. So
yeah.
a lot of
Yep. That
people,
really is there.
yeah. One of the best parts is always whenever Harry has to deal with the monster of the moment. And if he ever meets like a random person, if it's a regular human being, they will always react in just denial, like, "Oh, this isn't happening. No, this isn't happening." And it has this,
Right.
"Yep, just another Tuesday." So
Okay. So here's something kind of germane to all of this.
Mhm.
Um, so along with Dresden Files, along with all this, so we talk about how this is those creatures' nature,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So this guy isn't necessarily evil, um, because it's just what he does.
Yeah.
It's not like he's not making a conscious choice to be a bad guy. It's just like a wolf eating a rabbit.
Yeah.
Like the wolf is not evil for eating the rabbit. It's his nature to do it.
Yeah.
Um, But that makes me think, like, you think of, like, Mab and the Winter Court and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe they just have really shitty, like, they just have a real bad emotional dysregulation problem. Like, they all just woke up, like, a bad dream, they're angry at their boyfriend, but they just take it out on the whole world. It's
Yeah.
kind of that's like their nature. Their
It is.
nature is that they're the bitchy girlfriend
That
for
that's
their
the.
entire life.
Oh, dude, like you mentioned Mab in that regard, and you are right. Oh God, I want to go ahead into the. Fuck it, I'm gonna do it. In the court, right? Every court has
Yeah.
3 queens. You have the queen that
Yeah.
was, the queen that is, and the queen that will be. The one
Yeah.
that was is the oldest and the most powerful, but limited, because the more power you have, the more limitations you have.
Now, is she referred to as the lady or
The grandmother usually.
the grandmother? That's
Yeah.
right.
Then you
Okay.
have the mother and the queen who is, which is Mab in this case. And then
Yeah.
you have Mab's daughter Maeve. Now all these come in book 4, so I'm not spoiling anything. This is just the information you get.
Yeah. No.
But essentially, the weaker you are, and still, again, the Fey Queens punch in a weight line that is just it's on the god level basically, right?
Yeah.
They're really powerful. But the
Yeah.
weakest one have the more free. They can do more with what they have. Still strict restrictions, but they're less narrowed in what they can do.
Right.
However, they are all slaves to their nature. They still can seem and talk like they're like people, but in the end, like Maeve is a really just chaotic bitch.
Yeah.
Because that's her nature. But as older the queens get, it is as if they are reigning in their natures. So the more powerful and the older you are, it's like we said, they manage to get a hold over their emotion, get a hold over their natures, and just control it a bit better.
Well, I think that's just Harry. That's just Jim Butcher talking about women in general.
Oh, dude.
But yeah, no,
I find a pretty good allegory there. Dude.
I get what you're saying. And yeah, no, it's the yeah, their nature. They can't not act outside. They can't act outside of their nature.
Yeah. It's sort of like the
which is what
scorpion
it
and the
makes
pig,
them
right?
not. Yeah, the scorpion or the frog or the pig or whatever.
The frog, right.
But yeah, it's their nature to be dishonest. So if you trust them, it's your own fault.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't fault Oloch for wanting to consume Seth because he because that's what he does.
Yep.
It's not a conscious choice.
Yeah, and you can't fault a polar bear for savagely mauling you and eating you because that's its nature.
Right. That's exactly right. It's his nature. It's what he does. So it's not. You can't really attribute malice to it because it's just their nature.
People, on the other hand, now that's a different subject entirely.
People, on the other hand, and of course that's the fulcrum for the bad guy arc in this and many other books, is that the people are making the conscious decision to be evil.
Yep, and they're usually the ones. So that's why also their punishment tends to be very like satisfying too.
Mm-hmm.
Because in most cases, it is either a direct result or an indirect result of their decisions.
Yeah, well, people love karma. People love comeuppance.
Oh yeah.
So this looks really good, dude.
Thank you. I was really unsure how to approach it, but I started getting into the whole. I decided to drop the more angled and modern chiseling. I decided to go more with the hint of the the old not, you don't call it marmor, what do you call it? The Greek statues, how they are just really formed to be rounded, curved.
Oh yeah. They look very organic.
Yes, I'm kind of trying to go with that. Of course, I'm not able to do it as good as they do. That is way beyond my current reach, but still.
Well, you're not carving this shit out of marble.
Yeah. Marble, that's it.
Oh, marble, is that the word you're looking for?
Yeah.
I didn't realize which word you were looking for. Sorry.
Yeah, but you got the right thing though, because in Norway, marble is marmor.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. Like everything else in Norway, pretty close. But there's always some weird shit that makes it confusing.
Sounds close and hurdy-gurdy.
Yep. There we go.
But yeah, and I didn't want to, because this was like the very beginning of the story. I didn't want to tell too much of the story.
No, because we're actually
we have a lot. We've got a bit more to go.
Yeah, because we're gonna do a two-part on this one. You already actually.
Yeah, we've got a second. We'll revisit this guy when in the story when he becomes more germane.
Yep. So that's me and Dave's next episode, and this is gonna be a direct follow to this one. So
yeah.
more direct than the previous ones. Actually, it's gonna be the same plot device. I want to say character too, but entity.
It'll be the same kind of character arc for it. So.
Honestly, I've had a lot of fun. I'm just gonna finish the light here. Being a little lazy here. I know we both have a set for time, so.
Yeah. No, and it looks good, and the way it was like, because it was in a display case, right?
Yes.
So sitting on a pedestal, kind of a display with a sign that says "Do not feed."
Yes.
Which is explicitly the opposite of what's going on in this fucking photo or in this picture.
At first, I thought the kid would be one of those little shits who'd be like, "Oh, you can't tell me what to do," and then end up screwing themselves over. But he's just a. What I like about Seth so far is that he's willing. He might have a little bit of a rebel streak, but in the end, it's all well intentioned.
Yeah,
it is not
absolutely.
Fool. He just gets fooled because he has a kind heart, and that is something that people tend to try to use.
Yep, that's exactly right. He's very like in the first book, it is kind of like a Seth is a bit of a shit, and he does things because he's a bit of a shit.
Yeah.
You know, because he doesn't listen. But as the story progresses, it really does put a fine point on the on that Seth he has a very good heart and he has noble intentions. Like more often than not, Seth may do something foolhardy, but he has noble intentions.
Yeah.
Because that's a sign of maturity, and he, of course, grows up throughout the course of the story.
Yeah. And he's not afraid to put himself out there, you know.
Yeah. By the end of it, Seth becomes like a really powerful dragon slayer. By the end of his whole arc, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Throughout the course, because like it's a fucking. There's 5 books in this series, and then I think 5 in the next one too. So 10 books to follow the arc of this kid who goes from a goofy, like a kind of a goofy, kind of snotty, mischievous kid to like a legit hero of legend.
Yeah. See, so I'm gonna start messing around a little bit with the dark and the light here, and you can just tell me when you like what you see. Maybe I'm gonna make an extra layer of dark too. Just putting that in. Yeah, 150 on the dark.
Make aesthetic fucking choices here in the middle of the goddamn.
Well, that's your problem. You're the one who started early in the morning.
Here on the day of my cat's quinceañera.
You come to me and ask for aesthetic decisions on the day of my cat's quinceañera. You got the balls, kid. Sorry. I had a bit too much fun there.
I think that looks good, dude.
Yeah, and I need to do something with the background here because that's a bit too bright in that case. Oh, okay. So, what do you think? We go down to about 50%, and we go up to...
let's go 75. 75.
75.
Yeah, around 75. Because then that makes, at least from what I'm seeing, that makes the highlights on the statue match the lighting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Match there. And let's see, if I do a bit more... Let's see, yeah. How about we do 40? This is max. I
I can
didn't. This
barely tell the
actually.
difference on that one.
Yeah. Look in the
You got a
crest.
much better view of it than I do, so
Look around the gums of him and between his
okay.
fingers, right?
Okay,
So
let's see
let's
it.
see. Max double darkness. So 200% here. 100%. You see how it thickens, right?
Yeah, no. Okay.
I'm thinking
Yeah, drag that down a little bit. Yeah.
thinking 42 maybe.
Yeah, no, 42. I think that looks good, actually. 42
Yeah.
is the answer.
Yep. Answer to the universe. Love it when I do that. Well, that was actually really nifty.
Yeah,
Huh. So
that's great. And I
that's
think it's a great starting point to discuss this series.
yeah, it's really fitting too, because from what you say, this is kind of the driving force or sideways driving force, because this is the tool of what is the book's antagonist slash villain, right?
Yep. It's a tool of the villain for
Yeah,
sure. It's a plot device.
yeah. Or I like think of it as actually as a semi-living weapon.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely a living weapon.
Because again, I really look forward to when you, me, and Disco can start getting more into Dresden Files, because
Yeah,
the demons used there are very much similar to the demons in here, are very similar to the demons in Dresden Files, as
yeah.
you can summon them and give them specific tasks and targets, but they will only work within that limitation. And if they find a way to screw you over, they're gonna grasp that with both hands.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if the demons function quite the same way in the Fablehaven universe, but it is definitely that demons are evil and demons are not to be trusted and they are inherently deceptive,
Yeah,
because it
and
is their nature to do so,
oh yeah,
and to
and
expect them to do otherwise is foolish.
yes, because they have their set parameters, they have their nature, they have the way of their life, and unlike humans, right? And here's the thing about the supernatural creatures, again with their natures. Humans are unique in that we can change our natures, but we can also be in opposition to what is our nature. Demons or supernatural creatures, they have their natures, but they will never, ever go against their natures.
Yep,
Because,
100%, dude.
yeah, they love who they are. It's all they know, and they don't need to know, because for
Right?
them, they don't really have any true free will. And that's something you I kind of started picking up in Dresden Files, because a lot of people say, what is free will? Oh, what is free will? For me, as of right now, for me, free will is the ability to work against your nature.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And demons don't have that, so they don't have the free will. They can only work within the boundaries set by their natures. However, humans,
Yeah,
we have the ability to work outside of our natures, outside of our base desires.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to. Well, and that's why it's so much easier to um, portray a human as heroic,
Yep, it
because
is.
humans have a more because of the moral ambiguity within the human nature. There is more room for heroicism
Yep.
than than in the like if a bad guy turns good, it's like, oh, it's a redemption arc, but it's not the same as a hero,
Exactly.
you
Or
know.
the best
So
part is when a bad guy becomes a hero.
right,
Yeah, there are many examples. Like you have, I'm gonna mention Avatar. You know, Zuko, the dude with the messed up eye.
yeah,
Yeah, he goes from being like this villain, quote unquote, to becoming a direct hero, because he ends up doing. First, he goes desperately trying to follow what he thinks his father wants,
yep,
and then it goes more to what he wants and what is comes natural to him, because Zuko's nature is actually pretty honorable and kind-hearted,
yeah,
which is why he went against the orders made by his father, right?
right.
Which kind of resulted in
Well,
him getting burned in his face and dishonored.
and I think that's why we as humans can relate to that more, is because we understand more humans' um, capacity for evil.
Yeah,
and to go contrary to that or to rise above it is a heroic action.
yeah. And also,
So
it's also why humans generally are just we can. Whenever a human becomes a villain or truly, when they become a monster, they are usually portrayed to be worse than the supernaturals in every single way because they made the conscious choice of going there.
that's right.
When
That's
the,
exactly it.
yeah,
It's
when
the
they are
choice,
lost, they there's so many characters that are a good reference to
right?
this, but you know Nicodemus, right? Have you gotten to the last part there? We don't need to point out what, but do
Yeah.
you know that moment
Yeah.
where you see just how deranged that dude is?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that you can see that is him just following the his full arc, right? Everything he's done
Yep.
has been by choice, while his angel, his fallen, it's nature.
Yep.
Fucking love it. We need to cover
Yep.
those books, fucking damn it.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll finish this and then I'll also start trying to see
So
if I can drag Discord away from the kid for like 5 minutes. Would be nice.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
It's hard when people got little kids.
yeah,
So
but they're adorable. Have you seen them?
oh yeah, I know.
Uh, well, I guess I'll start wrapping it up here. Dave, thank you very much for coming back. I missed you, dude, but always fun having you here
Yeah, man, it's great to be back. I appreciate you. I appreciate you always having me. I appreciate you making the time for me, and I just appreciate you being my friend, man.
every single day, dude.
So,
If you need anything, just call. That's how we do it. That's how it works.
oh yep, yep. I know. That's
Uh,
how we roll.
and while I'm on the thanking train, thank you, Robert Bernardo, for letting me use your music once again. Go check out his channel. He makes a lot of good, like, ambient or generally it seems a bit deep, depressing sometimes. He also does a bit more on the jollier moods or going for the epic things, but Robert is a very he's kind of like Junji Ito in that he is a very happy and cute focused guy, but he really loves making like the deeper, more thoughtful, or in some cases even darker music.
Say it's good. You know, his music is good music to. It's good music to play Warhammer too.
Oh
Honestly,
yeah.
like it's good background music for doing serious shit.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
He,
Robert's king. Makes some
oh
great
yeah.
stuff. So
He's
check
got
him out.
he does his own, he does some things for his own things. He does it based on either in some cases Warhammer, other cases I've heard he has some good mech word themes. He also
Hmm.
has he started getting more into the whole Eldritch Abomination thing, and he
Yeah,
does some really fucking good work there. So everybody go
yeah,
check him out.
yeah.
And
Incredibly talented dude.
oh yeah, and a very nice guy too.
Yep.
And then you have Bezek, who is the Australian. Make that of what you wish. Uh, thank you very much for editing because Bezek has the massive challenge of taking technology and try to bend it to his will when it has something involved with me, who has a tech spec of -5.
He ended up looking like a fucking tech priest of trim. It's pretty
Yeah,
great.
yeah. The dude the dude deserves his Bezek deserves his red robes and cyber dongs. Just saying. But yeah, thank you very much for the effort, dude. I'm sure you're gonna make as good a job of this video as you make of the others. And also a huge thank you to everyone who's taken the time to watch or listen in on this. And if you manage to get all the way to the end here, again, thank you very much. If you feel inclined, like, a comment, or subscribe if you feel so. And again, thanks to you, Dave, for joining me. Looking forward to next time.
Yeah, dude. My pleasure as always.
Yeah. So, with that, I would like to say bye bye, everyone.